Hey Al, we're so excited that you're here. Jeff especially,
Oh yeah.
super excited. Guess what, guys? It snowed yesterday, my favorite thing ever. I got to sit and watch it come down, and I absolutely love it. The first snow is the best, and then after that, it's still awesome. But I just loved sitting watching it come down. So that's what's happening in our neck of the woods. I wrangled Jeff into coming on here and talking about our marriage, his very favorite thing. And so uh can you introduce our family just a teeny bit before we get going?
So we have 5 kids. We've been married for 25 years. We live in Utah, and we have some animals. We have a little bit of land, have a few goats. We've been getting lots of raspberries, which I really enjoy. We have a nice raspberry patch, but yeah, that's pretty much us in a little nutshell.
Yep. So we love life. We used to not. Jeff's going to talk to that about how you were having a really rough time and what do you think was the roughest part for you?
Let's see. Well, it's just seemed like at one point we had hit a really low spot and we weren't getting along, I would say, at all, really. Um, at one point, I even considered maybe moving out, looking for an apartment. So it was pretty low. We were definitely struggling. We were at a very, very low point, and things were not looking good. And I remember just feeling a lot of hopelessness. I really didn't know how to make things get better. And I really thought it could end at, any time at that point.
Yeah, I think I felt the same. We just
Hmm.
didn't know which way to go. And we've been to all this counseling, and you're like, if that's not working and it's making it worse, then what is left?
Yeah.
What have we got left?
I remember going to one counseling session and feeling like worse than ever afterward, and
Mhm.
feeling like there was no hope. We were truly in a dead end situation. And I really didn't have any thought we were going to be able to figure it out. It
Yeah.
was rough.
And that's why I just love coaching, which I was finally introduced to after a ton of counseling, because counseling is more like you go back to the past and say everything that's going wrong. And coaching is more solution based. Like, here we are, can't change the past. So we can worry about the present and the future. And that's all we can do, really. And so I think it was great when we quit like attacking each other in counseling sessions. Like, this is what you do wrong, this is what you do wrong. And we came back feeling pretty awful every time. At least I did.
Yeah.
I would leave feeling way more hopeless.
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
It was not helping.
it was not helping at all.
No.
And so I hear you saying that you felt a lot of despair.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, things were not good, and I really was in a very dark spot and really felt uh, no direction. Even after going to the counseling and trying different things, I really felt like I had no idea what to do, how to fix things, and that it wasn't even fixable.
Yeah. So I think a really important reason why we're here, we decide it's hard to do this, to talk about your marriage and that it wasn't good, especially in our culture of the church. I feel like everybody acts like everything's fine when it's not. And so we kind of want to change that perception that, like, now that I do marriage coaching, I feel like everyone comes to me and says, this is going on, this is going on, this is going on. And no one feels free to talk about it. And we just want to be a voice for marriage is going to have issues, and there are ways to do those issues that are so much better than others. And so let's figure out what they are. So what changed? When did you this heavy, like, stress, tense time start to change, or what made it change? What do you think?
I would say I just noticed subtle things at first. It wasn't instantaneous, like a light switch flipped, but I just felt all of a sudden like there was hope again. And that meant so much, that we were actually maybe heading in a good direction rather than than the other way.
Mhm.
And it was subtle though. I just think you had started working with life coaching, and I don't think I even knew what you were doing, but something changed in our relationship. It felt different. Like all of a sudden you were acting in a different way, and I could sense it, and things weren't perfect, but changes were being made and things were getting better slowly.
So that's a question. Did I even tell you I was doing life coaching? Because I don't think we had a conversation for a while.
Yeah, I think our communication was poor at that point. I think, and I don't think you had said you were doing life coaching for a while, and so I wasn't sure what was going on, but I did notice changes, and it definitely turned things around, and we started heading in a much better direction once that had started.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
that happens. You start to feel a shift. You're not even sure it's going to stick, or you're probably curious as to what's going on. But then what did you feel like made it better, like for you?
I think when we were in a really low spot, I had just felt like I could never say or do anything right, and that everything I did, I was being criticized for, or, uh, I just felt like everything was a mistake. And then once things changed, I felt like you appreciated me more, and that I was your friend again, and that we were basically getting more on the same team, where before we were basically on different teams altogether. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, it just felt like I was more appreciated and uh, loved by you again.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So do you remember when you first heard anything about life coaching at all?
I remember you mentioning that you were doing some life coaching, and that you had learned some principles that were helping you, and that you had been interested in sharing those with me at some point. And I guess that's when I realized that you were working on something that was actually helping us. And so I became more interested in looking into it myself, because I had seen you changing, and I think when you started changing, it started to change me kind of without even me knowing, because when you were acting differently, I started to act differently too
Hmm.
toward you. And
So can you talk to that, like about, I feel kind of like unhappiness in marriage is contagious,
mhm.
and that happiness starts to be get contagious. And so what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think when you were unhappy, I felt unhappy. And that old saying is happy wife, happy life. I think it's totally true, because if you aren't happy, then I wasn't happy. And once things started to change, I mean, it was contagious. It really was. I felt much better when you started feeling better. And so I think it really is a principle that if you're unhappy, it rubs off on other people, and if you're happy, it rubs off on other people too.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
I think part of my thing was I just thought if I was unhappy, it was your fault.
Hmm.
I was like, he's doing everything wrong, and that's why I was unhappy. And I
Hmm.
didn't even get the part that this had everything to do with me, and I'm the only one who can make myself happy. And to kind of take a step back and be like, so what even makes me happy? Because I've been wifing and mothering for so long and like worrying about other people, I've totally forgotten what makes me happy. And so do you remember? I mean, I was really worried when I started trying to figure out what made me happy. And I remember that I wanted to do that master gardening class, and it was 3 hours or 4 hours a night or something. And I'm like, I don't know if I can give myself permission to go to this class. Um, Ask him to watch the kids. It's not even church related. And I asked you, and you're like, of course, go, you know?
Mhm.
and you started seeing that it made me happy. And then you can like everything I was figuring out, like I would love to start, getting curious about doing plants, and you were all on board to help me with that and put up shelves and let's get grow lights. And so tell me a little bit about that, like what's going through your head, because I thought I'm being selfish and I'm spending money on things, and we have, you know, money goals, and why would I think that this is okay, or the time away from the kids and having you do them, or um spending money on stuff that's kind of maybe frivolous. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I
Like,
just,
I just want to know what was going through your head, I guess.
yeah, I felt like for so long you had dedicated everything towards everyone but yourself. And for you to have an interest in plants and seeing you get excited about it, it made me feel good that you had something that was bringing you joy. And so I realized it was going to be a time commitment for you, but seeing you get excited about it, and that was contagious too. I started getting excited for you and was happy you found something that you enjoyed. And so I think it was just good to see you kind of break out of your shell and do something for yourself once in your life, because it had been so long with little kids and mothering and all the things that running a home requires and everything. You deserve to do something for yourself, and I was glad you found something that was helping you find some joy and excitement. And so yeah.
Did it kind of feel, I don't know, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but it make you feel like you had permission to find your happiness and do things for yourself? Or no? Like,
Yeah, I
did
think
you already do that anyway?
well, I think around the same time I started taking a little class at the community college. I was learning welding, and so I was like, I'm going to do something for myself, and so I started doing that. And I think that kind of helped me find some excitement and joy outside of the home, which I think I needed too. And so I think both of us doing something for ourselves that brought us joy and happiness was great for us and great for the marriage.
Okay, so I think the question on everyone's mind now is, what did you do? Like, how did this change? How did it go from we probably are going to get divorced to we're happier than ever? Like, what is the secret besides
Um,
going and taking classes? I mean, that's
yeah,
not just
yeah,
it,
that definitely wasn't what saved our marriage or anything. It was just a little piece of it.
Hmm.
But I think um, when when I started noticing the changes in our marriage, and that you were acting differently, you were less judgmental and less critical, and that you were basically, I guess, staying in your own lane, not telling me what to do or acting like
I was right. I'm
right,
always
yeah,
right.
or control,
We
trying to
already know
control
I'm
me.
always right, but
Yeah, when you stop trying to control me so much, or uh criticize me for things, then I think I just stepped up and wanted to be a better husband, and I wanted to please you more, and I wanted to do things that I knew would make you happy. And it started to feel more like when we were dating again. um, I felt like we were more excited to be with each other. We wanted to please each other and do the things that we knew would make each other happy. I think that's when things changed, when we started to genuinely appreciate each other more, and be each other's friend again.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I think both of us, like, you learn that what you focus on increases. And I think for a while there, we were focusing on everything that was not going right, both of us. Like what each of us was doing that was awful and the biggest pain in the world. And we didn't want to deal with this person anymore, kind of
Mhm.
thing. Don't you think? It was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Whatever we were focusing on was going to increase, and it just kept increasing in the negative to the negative when it was like that.
Mhm.
And that's what I feel like that what's the marriage coaching kept bringing up was like, what's he doing wrong? What are you doing wrong? What makes you mad? What makes him mad? Like, what is so frustrating? And I just thought, I mean, half the time we go and I wouldn't even know you thought certain things till you said it to the counselor or the therapist. And I was like, oh, great, there's that. Did you ever feel like that? Like I didn't even know that that he felt that way.
Yeah, and I thought that that kind of approach made me want to look even more critically
Yeah.
at you
Mhm.
and try to find even more
Yeah.
things
Like,
that I
well,
could,
yeah.
say
Well,
were
she's,
bothering me
yeah.
or irritating me.
Yeah.
And
You're like,
so,
oh, well, she said that about me. Well, I'm going to come up with something
yeah,
about her,
exactly.
It's
Yeah.
like, and so I love this approach of just like, well, I have to say, just the aha moment for me when I realized not only was it not all your fault, this whole issue in our marriage, which I was sure it was, but when I figured out that your stuff is between you and God, and I have a million things to work on that are between me and God, and I'm just going to worry about that. And that's all I can do. And we can't change anything in the past. So we got to go forward. And so, what can I do to be the very best version of myself, the best wife I can be, the best parent I can be? What does that look like? And just like you said, stay in my own boat. You're in your boat. I used to think we had to be in the same boat because we were married. And so we're supposed to become one. And I think that's a really bad thought.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be the exact opposite. Like, let's get in different boats and go in the same direction. If you do things one way and I do things another way, or you're sitting in the eddy back there and I'm sitting in the eddy over here, it doesn't matter.
I think that was a huge piece is that before I felt like you were trying to control me and you wanted me to act in a certain way or do a certain thing or not do a certain thing. And once you let go of that control, I think that was huge.
Yeah.
That you were letting me be me and not expecting me to act or be a certain person.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you let go of that, I think that was one of the key pieces is that you let me just be myself, be who I am. And I think I wanted to act better once, that I felt that freedom again. Before, when I felt all restrained or controlled, then I wanted to act out even more, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that was gone, I felt free and wanted to act better.
Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to be a better husband and a better person in general.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So from this conversation, we're going to end, but what do you think is like, what do you want to acknowledge yourself for in this, like our relationship? I've already acknowledged myself for all my awesomeness. We don't need to go there.
Mhm.
But like, what do you want to acknowledge yourself for doing in our marriage to help make it better before we get off?
Um, hmm. I think just realizing that, I am my own person and that you are your own person. And that if I'm trying to turn you into someone that you're not, that's not going to work for you. And vice versa. If you're trying to turn me into someone who I'm not, then, I feel pigeonholed and forced into an area that I don't want to be in. And so I just feel like if I want you to be you, and that's why I love you, and that's why I married you in the first place, is because of your great qualities. And if I want you to be someone different, that's never going to work. And so I think accepting you for who you are and realizing that we're different people and that we each have strengths and weaknesses, and I'm going to love you for your strengths and
Put up with your
put up
weaknesses.
with the weaknesses, basically. um, I think that was key, is just loving you for who you are and not trying to change you into someone that you're not. And just looking at all those strengths and appreciating them more was huge, I think. Just realizing what a wonderful person you were and seeing all the good qualities. And we all have our issues or weaknesses, but not dwelling on those, but rather looking at the good. And so I think that was a huge piece of this work.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I've often said in coaching, like, people are like, why is this happening? Or why is, and that's not the right question. Basically, marriage is a PhD program in just becoming the best version of you. This person is here to help you become the best version of you. And it's going to take a lot of humility to be willing to be like, what? I'm wrong?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And so what's the last, like, this is the end of it, but what takeaway do you want people to, or what's your takeaway from this conversation? Or what would you like other people to take away from this conversation?
I would just say that we were so low at one point, and I felt so much hopelessness. And to see dark turn to light, that's even possible, just to realize that no matter where you are, there is hope. If you do the work that's required, you can find peace and happiness in your marriage, and that nothing, as hopeless as we felt, there is hope, and that you can get to a better spot and find peace and happiness in your relationship.
Amen.
Yeah.
And I would also say I don't know, I think it was a month ago or something, that I was making another class, and it was like about miserable or mediocre or marvelous marriage, and I was writing it down, like, what do you think ours is? Is ours, I mean, I think it's marvelous now, but I was wondering what you'd say. I'm like, do you think it's mediocre or marvelous or um miserable? And you were like, well, mediocre meaning I don't get to hang out with you as much as I want to. And I thought you were joking. I looked at your face and I was like, now he starts laughing, and you were dead serious. And I was like, that's one of the coolest things I've heard yet. Like,
Mhm.
you actually want to hang out with me. Like, do you
Mhm.
remember how much we used to not want to hang out with each other?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you'd make every excuse, like, I'm on call, I can't go, I can't,
Mhm.
and now it's just way different, way better, and
Mhm.
way more like it used to be.
Yeah. Mhm. Yep.
So anyway,
Yep.
thanks for being here with us, guys.
Mhm.
And hope you've learned something. Remember, seek and expect miracles.
Yep.
If anyone can believe that phrase from the prophet, it's us. Like, we know that miracles can happen because they definitely happen for us.
I agree.
All right. See you next time.